Hello, my name is Michael Barry. I'm the owner of Princeton Creative Marketing, and I'm a longtime marketing consultant and participant in the music business, originally as a musician, then as a producer, and ultimately as a marketing consultant. Thanks for watching this presentation of Holistic Marketing for Audience Development. This presentation was recently offered in a session at Chamber Music America's National Conference, held in New York from January 16th through January 19th, 2014. The conference was great this year, but like all conferences, participants can only get to so many sessions. So I thought it might be helpful to make this presentation available online anytime for anyone who's interested. If you attended the original presentation in person, I've made a few additions and changes, so stay tuned. I'm sure you'll find it worthwhile. Before we go on, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a creative marketing consultant and the owner of Princeton Creative Marketing, a marketing consultancy based in Princeton, New Jersey, and specializing in arts, nonprofits, and small business. I've worked with a range of clients from independent artists to large corporations, and I started out as a musician myself, eventually moving into production and ultimately marketing. I've spoken at many industry events, sat on panels, and taught at the New School University in New York and Norwalk Community College in Connecticut. I've recently written a book which goes into some depth on the topics in this presentation. It's called The New Rules of Music Marketing, and you can find it on Amazon, iTunes, Kobo, and all the usual online retailers. So, the information that follows is based on a concept called holistic marketing, which, much as the name would suggest, looks at the whole organization with respect to its environment, just like holistic medicine seeks to treat the whole person and not just the symptoms. As tools and techniques have grown and changed, especially as the digital revolution takes hold, holistic marketing has grown in importance because it provides a way to make sense of the staggering array of tools that you have available for marketing and promotion. The problem is you don't have time or the need to look at every new online platform that comes along, learn how to use it, try it out, see if it has any effect on developing your audience. There's just so many hours in the day, and besides, you're supposed to be making or presenting music, not becoming a social media whiz. Holistic marketing helps clarify your needs by looking at how your audience gathers information in both the online and offline world. Although the tools have changed, the fundamentals of marketing remain the same, but you need to put these fundamentals into the context of your environment and your audience, which means you have to understand and use both traditional techniques and online tools. But happily, you don't have to use them all. A solid application of just a few fundamental techniques and well-chosen platforms can help you to create an adaptable plan for successful marketing and audience development in the new music business. Holistic marketing, within the context of music, can be seen as the unified interaction of four main areas of marketing: integrated marketing, audience relationship development, internal marketing, and socially responsive marketing. We'll be focusing on audience relationship development, but let's just briefly look at the whole picture, just so you're aware and so we can start to think holistically. After all, that's what it's all about. Integrated marketing is all about choosing the right mix of marketing channels, for example, advertising, direct mail, social media, concerts, and so on, and making sure each component supports the others. Audience relationship development we'll talk about in a moment, but in the corporate or small business world, this would be thought of as customer relationship management, or CRM. But it's more than just about CRM software like Salesforce and Donaware. It's about developing and managing actual relationships, in person, online, in the concert hall, wherever your audience wants to connect. Socially responsive or responsible marketing is about doing some good out there in the world and offering value, knowledge, experience, and other things that truly improve your audience. I think that's pretty much what we do anyway, but the more you do, the better. And finally, internal marketing is about getting your entire team on the same page, putting out the same messages and working together. Gone are the days when the development staff at a nonprofit can work independently, or even worse, without the marketing department. Everyone from the venue staff to the director needs to be on the same page working together. Before we go on, let's have a quick look at a fundamental principle of marketing that applies to almost every organization or individual trying to develop an audience. That's the purchase funnel. Anyone who buys anything from a company, supports an artist, makes a donation, or goes to a concert usually goes through this funnel on their decision journey towards making that purchase. Sure, people can enter the funnel at any point. Someone might go directly to an advocacy stage and never even buy anything from you, but that's the rare exception. And if you understand that this funnel exists, you can better focus your marketing and development efforts to the appropriate stages. So first, although this may sound obvious, people have to know you exist. Rather than trying to let the whole world know you exist, it's much better to let those people who are most likely to support you know first. It's a mistake to try and be all things to all people. And when I ask a musician, who do you think would really appreciate your music, and their answer is everybody, then I know they have some work to do. We would like to believe that it's most likely not true, and in any case, it makes marketing next to impossible. If people are inclined at all towards what you are presenting, then they will move to the next stage and consider making a purchase, coming to a concert or offering support. Then the trial stage is when they actually make that purchase or come to the show. It is then that you have to deliver on the promise that you made, which got them there in the first place. If you promise a world-class modern jazz septet, don't deliver a cool jazz quartet instead. After a concert or purchase of music, the customer evaluates and decides whether what you are offering is worth adopting. In other words, will they go to another show or continue to support your music in some way? Best of all is the final stage, when they actually become advocates of your offering and let their friends know, or they take to the blogosphere or otherwise lend their voice to support your music. That's the holy grail of marketing and audience development. Once you have some clear target audiences in mind, which we'll discuss more in a moment, then with a little thought you can create marketing and development campaigns that address each of these stages. For example, it might take several emails and a postcard or advertisement to bring a complete stranger to the awareness stage. In that case, your marketing messages should be fairly general and clearly state why a stranger would want to become interested in you. However, if someone has been supporting you with a yearly donation or concert attendance for the last 5 years, then it's time to message them a little bit differently and perhaps ask for their advocacy. Perhaps you can ask them to send a concert announcement to their email list, or maybe they can retweet your tweets as an event approaches. In short, do whatever you can do to facilitate moving a supporter through these stages. Don't expect them to do it alone, and make it as easy as possible. Most importantly, remember to think about these stages when you design your next marketing campaign. Just a simple awareness of a principle like this can help inform your messaging, and a little critical thinking about why you are sending a particular message and what you hope to achieve can go a long way. Always ask why. Why should they try my music? Why should they adopt my organization? Try to think from a customer's point of view, not as a musician or a presenter. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to zero in on the audience relationship development aspect of holistic marketing. And I've distilled the possibilities into 6 steps which I think are the most important. The 6 steps are: 1. Analyze your target audience and develop profiles. 2. Create a value proposition. 3. Develop the right collateral. 4. Cultivate strategic partnerships. 5. Position yourself as a subject matter expert. And 6. Manage your digital and social media marketing. Step 1. Analyze your target audience and develop profiles. If you already have an audience, and hopefully their emails, have you done a survey recently? Get a free account at SurveyMonkey or some similar provider, and then you can start to gain some valuable insight into your audience. Just a dozen easy questions takes your audience only 3 minutes to complete and can provide you with tons of great information. One of the more pressing questions these days is, where does your audience get their online information? Where do they engage with friends or organizations or artists that they are interested in? If you survey an audience and get 100 responses and find out that 80% of them don't use Twitter, but 90% of them do use YouTube, then maybe it's time for a quick YouTube video, but you can probably shelve the Twitter campaign for a while. Beyond the basics and where they are online, if you can start to find out what they need for music, that would be great. And I mean what they need, not what you think they need or what you think they should care about. Understandably, most artists or presenters would hope people would want to support them and buy their music because it's good, or because of the caliber of the musicians, or because the recording was done meticulously in 192-bit sampling rate for the utmost in high definition. But what most folks really care about is how music makes them feel. They need to have certain feelings, and they do need to get them from music, but it might not necessarily be your music. Until you find out what they are really looking for, you are likely to send marketing messages that are from your own point of view and not from the customer's. Listen carefully to whatever results you get, and if possible, retain and use actual wording from survey respondents. I seldom recommend buying lists of any kind. It almost never pays off. So if you don't already have an email list for a particular target market that you want to approach, then it's time to do some online research, perhaps via Twitter or Facebook, or following other followers of a relevant blog. You can still survey these folks, but it will be more time consuming, and you might have to offer an enticement, like entering them into a drawing for a gift card, just in order to get them to take the time to fill out a survey for an organization that they're not already engaged with. This is kind of like cold calling, but it may be necessary to start developing a new audience. Once you have good info, create a few profiles of typical customers. Some organizations actually give them names to make them more real. Mary is a successful businesswoman between 35 and 45 years old, living in an urban area and participating regularly in the arts. She attends concerts, supports museums, and other cultural institutions. She finds most of her info online from her LinkedIn connections, but she rarely uses Facebook except to post personal items among friends. Or James is a 20-something college grad living in a suburb of a major city who has limited funds and only goes to a few events per year, but he does engage with performers online through YouTube on a weekly basis. This helps you imagine real people who you are trying to reach. Create a value proposition. A value proposition, sometimes called a unique selling proposition or USP, is simply a statement of how you communicate the value of what you offer to your audience. I like to use a 6-step process to create both a long-form and a short-form value proposition. Once you answer each of these questions, write a 1-page document that is chock full of usable words and sentences that mean something to your audience and express why they should support you. Also, write a short 3 or 4 sentence blurb that you might use as marketing messages. Sometimes this is called an elevator speech, what you might say in a 30-second elevator ride in order to get someone interested in what you have to offer. So, to briefly work through this process, first define who your market or audience is. Remember, everybody is not a good answer. Be specific and you might find that you have several different core audiences. That's fine. Now you know something more than you did before, and you might consider writing several different value propositions. Try to determine how they each might perceive your value, not just what it costs for a concert ticket in dollars and cents, but how much they have to go through to purchase something, to attend a show, or otherwise engage with you. Think of the whole experience, not just the money. Of course, be clear about what you are offering them. Sometimes too much is too much. Trying to sell a CD, get folks to a show, and ask them to donate to your Kickstarter campaign might be too much for one piece of marketing. What are the benefits? This is really the most important item on this list. How does a person benefit from the experience of buying from you? Let's look at this one a bit more closely. Benefits describe how your music delivers clear customer value and meets a need that they have. Remember, just because it's good music doesn't necessarily mean that it fills a need for the customer. The Berlin Philharmonic's recordings of Beethoven's symphonies may be some great music, but if you're into drum and bass music, the symphonies don't really offer you a benefit. Furthermore, benefits can be thought of in 4 subcategories. Core benefits. These are the main functional benefits of your product. For example, the core benefit of a Ferrari or a Hyundai or even a bicycle is that it provides a way to get from one place to another. The core benefit of music may be that it provides a listening experience for the customer. Expected benefits. These benefits are often unstated. Using the Ferrari example, it's expected that the car is fast, stylish, and expensive. Relating this back to music, it's expected that music is well recorded, has a certain amount of form, melody, and rhythm, and creates a type of listening experience that the fans of a style expect. It might be stating the obvious, but a reggae fan expects music from a reggae artist to be reggae. Imagine their disappointment or confusion if they purchased a Bob Marley tune and got screaming, headbanging metal instead. It could be cool, but probably not. Augmented benefits. These are benefits beyond the expected and may offer added value, surprise, or excitement. For example, a Ferrari is safer and holds its value better than any other luxury sports car. Most folks don't know that. Back to music, we might find that certain types of music produce effects beyond the expected. Remember all the buzz a few years ago about the Mozart effect? This theory held that playing classical music to children, even babies in utero, resulted in brighter children with higher math scores. You better believe that the marketing folks at the classical labels use that augmented benefit to their advantage. Finally, potential benefits. These benefits are often more implied or imagined, and they create emotional reactions in the customer. For example, by owning a new Ferrari, a customer imagines him or herself gaining status, getting the girl or the boy, impressing the CEO, getting the promotion, and so on. Going back to music, a customer might imagine that purchasing certain music will result in feelings of bliss, physical excitement, relaxation, sexual excitement, or any number of emotional states. They also might imagine that it could make them appear cooler, more attractive, more intelligent, and so on. Finishing off the value proposition builder, we have to take into account what alternatives the customer has, like what other music they might have as a choice or an alternative to yours. And then finally, what proof can you offer that you will deliver on your promise? Perhaps it was an exhilarating concert experience, or the most unusual CD you've ever heard. You have to deliver and prove that. But proof often comes by way of reviews or customer testimonials as well. So collect as many as you can and use the ones that fit your audience, which you now understand better because you looked at the entire value proposition process. Get it? One stage supports the next, and the whole thing starts to make more sense once you've looked at the whole thing. It's holistic, remember? Develop the right collateral. This is simply about creating a consistent and professional image for your brand. Collateral, by the way, is just about anything used to deliver marketing messages. So we're talking about flyers, postcards, posters, websites, Twitter profiles, advertisements, whatever. The look and feel has to be right, and it should look like it's coming from the same place. Choose your colors and fonts carefully. Make sure your fonts are readable and that the colors align with your image. Script fonts and quirky fonts like Curls and Broadway may be fun, but they're probably not appropriate. Put everything together into a file and make sure you have both high-res and low-res versions of everything, as well as black and white and different file formats. Keep it up to date and accessible. We've all scrambled around looking for a file on our computer at the last minute, so try and avoid that. Also, you may be faced with someone else's sudden deadlines. For example, if your printer suddenly tells you that everything is due at the end of the day. For colors, make sure you know the RGB and CMYK values for each color you use. Ask your designer friends about RGB and CMYK, but it's basically a numeric code for producing colors exactly. Also, limit your color choices to 2 or 3 main colors. You can see in most of my materials, for example, that I'll use shades of orange, aquamarine, and shades of gray for text. If you're curious about color, and you really should be, there is plenty of great information available. Feel free to get in touch with me or check out sites like colormatters.com, one of my favorites. But most of all, design it well, because bad is just bad. Your images reflect on you for either good or ill. Cultivate strategic partnerships. Partnerships are more important now than ever before. We all have more strength in sharing than we do in competing, so look for allies, even within the same area of music that you're in. Certainly getting to know your local press and media folks is a plus, and any press, as they say, is good press. Well, maybe that's not entirely true, but aside from a terrible review, most press really is pretty friendly towards what we do. For audience development, we have to be thinking about the future. We all know that the audiences for classical, jazz, and world music have gotten older and have not been replaced by younger fans to the extent that we need to keep these styles growing. In truth, all audiences age out and start to follow other paths. That's why pop music keeps inventing new acts like Britney Spears and Justin Bieber. Believe me, they are working on Bieber's replacement in the pop star factory as we speak. But for non-pop music, we have some work to do, and we have to start today to cultivate the audience that will support us 5 or 10 years from now. So get to know folks at local schools, community groups, athletic teams, music stores, libraries, maybe even at the mall, and suggest performance possibilities to these groups. You're not going to convert everyone to fans of what you do, and most kids will be uninterested, but some will be very interested, and those are the ones that count. Position yourself as a subject matter expert, or SME. This is one of the best routes to developing an audience. At least a few hundred people know who I am because I spoke at CMA, and now you are watching this presentation. This really adds up after a while. Knowledge and information are very important to people these days, and if you become a trusted source of relevant information over a long period of time, you'll have a good following who will support your music. People want deeper engagement in music making now. They don't just want to buy a ticket or a CD. They want to know how the music was created. They want to know what you think about it and how you feel when you play a certain piece. People are more inclined to give an artist $100 to support a Kickstarter campaign to record a new CD than they are to spend $15 just to buy the CD. That's because they become part of the process. They get information, they learn about the music. In fact, I think there's still plenty of money being spent on music. It's just being spent differently. On Kickstarter, for example, there are about 27,000 music projects previously funded or are currently underway. Most average well into the thousands of dollars of contributions. But let's say they average out at about $1,000 per project. That's $27 million that's now being spent on music, but not in the way that we're accustomed to. That's potentially good news, but we have to be there to share in that bounty. Anyway, to wrap up this slide, it's important not to just come out of the gate selling. You should educate along the way and give freely of good information that will help people become more engaged with you. Finally, manage your digital and social media marketing wisely. I can write a book about this subject, and then I'd have to revise it again in 6 months. But the reality is that social media marketing is crucial, although it's not the whole picture. For the most part, 3 to 5 platforms will suffice, and social media should probably represent only about 25% of your marketing efforts or budget. But before you dive in and create a Twitter profile, go back to step 1. See what you've learned about your audience. Are they on Twitter? Are they very localized, or are they scattered about the country, young or old? Spend a few months doing your homework, checking out the big platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and see what similar organizations are doing. But most importantly, what is your audience doing? And then you can get to work. One of the big illusions of the digital age is that social media is a quick fix, and you could get online and be reaching millions of people in no time at all. This could not be further from the truth. The reality is that this takes time to learn, time to implement, and time to grow. Consistency and patience are crucial, and after 6 months to a year of coordinated, focused effort, you'll begin to see results. Don't get frustrated because your first few hundred Twitter followers don't result in any revenue. That's okay. Just keep going and integrate social media marketing into your overall marketing mix, and don't let it take over your life. You have better things to do. And once you've got a little experience under your belt, check out one of the automation platforms like Hootsuite. This way you can schedule and automate posts to all your social media profiles well in advance. Plus you get great tracking and analytics which provide critical insight into how your audience is engaging, who really cares, and what you might be able to do better. It's a huge time saver. If you can, hire an expert to at least get you started and even to run your whole social media marketing effort. But one word of caution, social media marketing that is not grounded in solid marketing principles and integrated into your overall mix is not going to help. So make sure you work with people who know what they are doing, not just on Twitter, but in marketing and in business in general and in your particular area. There's an old saying, if you think it's expensive to hire a professional, wait until you hire an amateur. So that's it. Thanks for watching. I'd love to hear your questions and comments, and let's keep the conversation going. So here's my contact information. Good luck and keep putting out great music.